right, good morning, everyone. My name is Carson Brown. I want to talk a little bit about workplace violence, okay? So to do that, I think we have to first start with a definition. So what is workplace violence? So any act or threat of physical violence, harassment, intimidation, or other threatening, disruptive behavior that creates a hostile work environment, okay, or creates hostility at the workplace, okay? Creates a risk to the physical and emotional health and safety of our employees or multiple employees. How common is this in the workplace? You know, what do we think? Is this something that is frequently happening? Is not? Well, let's look at some numbers to quantify that, okay? According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, okay, 21,000 serious cases were reported in 2018. That's not a small number. World Health Organization estimates that about 9% of all occupational injuries are as a result of workplace violence. So think about how many incidents or accidents you had at your workplace last year. Hopefully it was 0, okay? But that's just short of 10% of those, okay? And these are the ones that are being reported, okay? How many of them don't get reported? And then finally, National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, it's the research arm of OSHA, if you will, okay? They reported that workplace violence was responsible for 827 workplace homicides in 2019. These are not insignificant numbers, okay? So let's talk a little bit more about what kind of strategies we have for preventing and preparedness. I want to talk about 4 main ways, okay? Through a written workplace violence plan, through training, constructive exercises, okay? And through crime prevention, through environmental design, okay? We'll unpack that when we get there a little bit more, okay? So, written workplace violence plans. It's going to proactively address the risks and consequences associated with workplace violence. It's going to protect employees in the organization. It's going to ensure legal compliance and demonstrate a commitment to safety and well-being. It's a comprehensive strategy that encompasses prevention, response, and recovery efforts to minimize harm and maintain a safe work environment. What's our approach? Okay, how do we do this? How have we helped our clients do this? We want to make sure that it's a comprehensive plan. Best practice and our recommendation is that we need to make sure that we include active shooter in that. It needs to be adapted to whatever the client's culture is. That can vary. Okay, we want to make sure that it's a good fit for you. Okay, and then need to make sure that it fits with the ongoing budget requirements. Okay, we don't want to put a bunch of things in the plan as requirements if we know when we're writing it that it's not realistic to make sure that continues to happen. And then finally, just to circle back on that comprehensive part, it needs to function with the other safety and health plans or procedures that you have in place, okay? Specifically, I'm thinking about the EAP or your emergency action plan here, but there's other ones that it needs to work with as well. What about training, okay? Workplace violence training is going to be essential. It's going to enhance safety, it's going to reduce risks, it's going to ensure legal compliance, and it's going to promote a positive workplace culture. Training is going to equip employees and employers with the tools and knowledge needed to prevent and respond to workplace violence effectively, ultimately contributing to a safe and more secure workplace. When we start looking at training here, we've got a wide list of options. What's the best practice? All employees need some basic training. From there, leadership and management, think from your supervisor level and up, probably need some additional training. How do we handle this when someone brings it to our attention? Okay, that's the kind of stuff we want to make sure that we cover with those groups. What about specific roles that may need additional training? I know in recent years, a lot of facilities have gone away from having a receptionist or someone that sits at that front door, but a lot of facilities still have those, okay? That forward-facing person, they might need some additional training, okay? What about someone that answers the phones the majority of the time, okay? They might need a little bit of additional coaching. And all of those groups, there should be a section that touches on active shooter as well. Collaborative events, okay? These exercise events, or drills, if you will, okay? They're necessary. They're gonna enhance preparedness, improve response times, test our communication systems, and provide a valuable opportunity for employees to practice their roles in a safe environment, okay? We all did fire drills in school, right? We still do fire drills today from time to time. It's because it's very important. We want to make sure that we're contributing to a safe workplace to reduce the impact of violence, incidents, and make sure we try to save lives as part of this process, okay? So, what's our approach here? What does KERAMIDA do for a best practice? We can do all the coordination and planning for these, as we have done for several of our clients. It can be a big deal to get everything scheduled, all the timelines figured out, or we can work with someone to do that as well. Documentation, okay? As I'm sure everyone in the room is probably aware, if we can't prove that we did something, did we do it? Okay? We want to make sure that we document what we did and how we did it, not just for the regulators, but we also want to use it as an opportunity to say, okay, here's the things that went well. Here's what we did good. And okay, you know, we've got a couple things that we need to tighten up on, that we need to make some improvements with, okay? That's our opportunity to look at that. And then that allows us to go full circle back to our training to make sure it's touching the topics that we need. Role players, you know, that could be as simple as an actual role player as a part of the drill, but it doesn't have to look like that either. A lot of times what that looks like is we've got a plan that we've talked to everybody about, okay? We put that plan in place, and then maybe we make a couple small changes and grab a group of people and do something different with them to make sure everybody else in the organization responds the way they've been trained. All right, moving on to the last topic, okay? Crime prevention through environmental design. It's a mouthful. How about CPTED instead? So what is crime prevention through environmental design? The idea is we want to enhance safety, reduce crime and fear of crime, engage the community in a design process that supports sustainable, cost-effective, and aesthetically pleasing urban environments. It represents a proactive and holistic approach to creating safe spaces that are conducive to safety, security, and the well-being of our team members, okay? Now, we've got environmental used in the word here. We've got, maybe not on this slide, but I know I've got sustainable put in there as well, okay? When we're talking about environmental in this context, it's the facility. It's the area around the facility, okay? So what can we do to make that safer, okay? So what does the KERAMIDA team include when it comes to CPTED? Certification, for one, okay? Active law enforcement personnel from multiple disciplines, okay? Certified safety professionals, and experience with protection for large and small headcount facilities. What's our approach? What are some of the things that we're keeping in mind as we do these assessments, as we work with clients on this? Want to dissuade would-be violent or otherwise illegal actors. What are things we can do to accomplish that? Okay, I'll give you guys some examples here in a minute. What are low-cost adjustments to facilities that'll help facilitate some of these improvements? Can we leverage community resources and adjust infrastructure for passive security? And utilization of existing activities and structures for discouragement of nefarious activities. So let's look at an example, okay? if we have a building and we've got a very nice row of pine trees in the front of that building, or maybe along the side of that building, and the greenery on those trees goes from all the way to the top, all the way to the ground. That creates a very easy place for someone to move around your facility without being seen. You can have all the lights, you can have all the cameras, but if you've, by design, created an area where someone can move around unseen, that's what we're trying to avoid, okay? What's the fix there? We don't need to cut down the trees. Just trim them up to 4 or 5 feet, okay? Remove that place where it's easy to walk and not be seen, okay? The idea is we wanna look at what the options are, and we try to go after those options. They're gonna be the most impact, the least amount of work, least amount of cost, and move the needle in the right direction as quickly as possible. And that's what I have for workplace violence today. Thank you guys very much.